I stopped the closing on my brother's dream house with one sentence, and the silence that followed cost him $250,000. The room smelled like burnt coffee and fresh paper. A long conference table sat under harsh fluorescent lights. On one side, my brother Mason leaned back like he owned the building. On the other, Brooke's parents sat upright, polished and watchful, the kind of people who never forgot a name or a number. A realtor in a tailored blazer slid a stack of documents toward Mason with a practiced smile. A loan officer opened her laptop, eyes flicking between her screen and the clock. The title agent laid out pens like surgical tools. And then there was me. I was in a navy suit that fit, haircut, hands clean, the responsible sibling uniform. I took the chair closest to the door, not because anyone asked, but because old habits know where they belong. Mason did not look at me until Brooke's mother said, almost conversationally, "So the down payment is already in escrow?" Mason grinned. He loved an audience. "Of course," he said. "I have been planning this for years. I had help moving money around, but it is my money. Ellie just holds it for me. He's good with that stuff." He turned toward me, eyebrows raised, waiting for my little nod. The same nod I had given 100 times at family dinners when he took credit for things I carried. My throat went tight. Not dramatic, not theatrical, just a slow clamp, like my body was trying to stop my tongue from getting me in trouble. The loan officer tapped her keyboard, then looked up. "Just one housekeeping item," she said. "Because that down payment was transferred from an account not in the borrower's name, we will need a gift letter." She slid one page across the table. The heading was bold. The words underneath were neat, deadly, and simple. Gift letter. I watched Mason's smile widen, as if the universe had handed him a shortcut. "Oh yeah," he said, waving a hand like he was brushing lint off his sleeve. "Ellie will sign it. He is basically family escrow." Brooke's father made a small sound in his throat. Not quite approval, not quite disapproval. More like a man keeping his poker face. My mother, sitting beside Mason, reached for her water glass with trembling fingers. My father stared at the table, jaw working like he was chewing something bitter. No one corrected Mason. No one said, "Actually, Eli gave you that money." No one said, "Actually, Eli is the reason you are here." The realtor smiled at me the way people smile at a waiter. Polite, expectant, dismissive. Mason leaned in, voice low like we were sharing a joke. "Do not make this weird," he whispered. "It is just a form. You are not even giving me money. You are just holding it. Sign it and let us get out of here." My pulse thudded in my ears. I stared at the paper. A gift letter meant I was declaring in writing that I had no expectation of repayment. It meant that $250,000 was not a loan. It meant it was love, charity, a voluntary act. It meant the truth would be erased with one signature. I picked up the pen. Mason exhaled like he won. Then I set the pen down. I opened my briefcase instead. The title agent blinked. The realtor's smile wavered. The loan officer's fingers paused over her keyboard. I pulled out a single document in a clear sleeve. Thick paper. A notary stamp that caught the overhead light. My signature. Mason's signature. A date from 3 years ago that I could still feel in my bones. I slid it across the table. "This is not a gift," I said, calm enough to scare myself. "This is a loan." Mason's grin froze mid-breath. And for the first time all morning, every person in that room looked at me like I was real. If you have ever been the sibling who paid and stayed quiet, you already know what happened next. The paper did not look dramatic. It did not glow. It did not scream. It just sat there between us. Promissory note. $25,000 USD. Repayment term, 5 years. Interest. Below market. Fixed. Default clause. Immediate collection rights. Mason's signature sat beneath mine, confident and careless. 3 years earlier, he had signed it in a different office. Smaller. Dimmer. Back when he needed me. I remembered that day with painful clarity. He had shown up at my apartment unannounced, hoodie half zipped, eyes red not from crying, but from lack of sleep and too much ego. "I found a place," he said. "It is perfect. Brooke loves it. This is it." I asked the number. 250,000 for the down payment, he replied, like he was asking to borrow my car. He did not say please. He did not say thank you in advance. He said, "You are good with money. It just sits there for you." For me, this is momentum. Momentum. That word again. Growing up, Mason was momentum. I was maintenance. He crashed. I cleaned. He leaped. I calculated. My parents had that look in their eyes that night. The one that says, "You are the stable one. Help him." My mother clasped her hands together. "It is not charity," she insisted. "It is family." My father avoided my gaze. I did not trust verbal agreements. I never had. Numbers do not lie. People do. So I said yes. But I said yes at a notary's office. Mason laughed when I mentioned paperwork. "Come on, Eli," he said. "You think I would screw you over?" I looked him in the eye and said nothing. We signed. He hugged me outside the building like I had just handed him oxygen. "You saved me," he whispered. I transferred the $250,000 the next morning, and for a while, things were quiet. Too quiet. Then little things started to shift. Brooke's parents began visiting open houses with them. Mason stopped mentioning repayment timelines. He started saying things like, "When this place flips, we are all going to laugh about how stressed you were." Not I. I let it slide. Then one Sunday at dinner, Brooke's mother made a comment that stuck like a splinter. "We are proud that Mason did this on his own," she said, smiling at him. "It shows discipline." On his own. I looked at Mason. He did not correct her. He did not look uncomfortable. He just nodded. "It took planning," he replied. "But I moved things around." I felt something cold settle under my ribs. After dinner, I asked him privately, "You told them you saved it?" He rolled his eyes. "It is optics," he said. "They are old money. They respect self-made." "And what am I?" I asked. "You are my brother," he said. "Do not be sensitive." Sensitive. There it was. The family word for inconvenient truth. I reminded him about the note. He waved a hand. "It is paperwork. You know, I will pay you back." But the repayment schedule slipped. Year 1 passed. Nothing. Year 2. Excuses. Investment delays. Unexpected expenses. Wedding deposits. Then, 6 months ago, I received an email from his mortgage broker by mistake. It was forwarded accidentally. I was copied instead of archived. The subject line read, "Down payment source clarification." The broker asked whether the funds were a loan or gift. Mason replied, "Gift. My brother holds the funds in his account for tax efficiency. No repayment expected." No repayment expected. I stared at the screen until my vision blurred. He had not just minimized me socially. He had erased the debt legally. If I had not kept documentation, that email alone could have buried me. That was the first night I could not sleep. Not because of the money, because of the pattern. All my life, I had been the quiet reinforcement beam in a house built for Mason's spotlight. When he succeeded, he shone. When he stumbled, I absorbed impact. And now he was rewriting the narrative in real time. He was not asking me to help. He was rewriting history. I did not confront him again. Instead, I pulled every document from my safe. Bank transfer confirmation, notary stamp, email chains, repayment schedule. I scanned everything, stored copies, spoke quietly with an attorney about enforceability. "Is it clean?" I asked. "It is airtight," she replied. "If he defaults, you can pursue collection. If he misrepresents it during underwriting, that is mortgage fraud." Mortgage fraud. The words tasted metallic. I did not want to destroy him. I wanted acknowledgement. But acknowledgement was never offered voluntarily in this family. It had to be extracted. And now, 3 years later, we were back in a room with better lighting and worse honesty. The promissory note sat between us at the closing table. The loan officer picked it up first. Her professional expression cracked just slightly as she read the terms. "This states repayment obligation," she said carefully. "This is not a gift." Mason's leg began bouncing under the table. "Eli," he said, forcing a laugh, "why are you doing this now?" "Because you were about to erase me with a signature." But I did not say that. I folded my hands calmly. "I am not doing anything. I replied. I am declining to lie. The loan officer cleared her throat. If this is an undisclosed debt, underwriting will need to review. This changes the debt-to-income ratio. The realtor's face drained of color. Brooke looked between us like she had just realized she did not know the rules of the game she was playing. Her father leaned forward slowly. Mason, he said evenly, is this true? Mason opened his mouth, closed it, looked at me. For once, he did not have momentum. He had paperwork, and paperwork does not flinch. No one moved. The loan officer reread the note, slower this time. This is a binding repayment agreement, she said. If this debt was not disclosed during underwriting, we have a compliance issue. The word compliance landed like a brick. Mason leaned forward, palms flat on the table. It is informal, he insisted. It is between brothers. I did not blink. It is notarized, I said. The title agent adjusted her glasses. The realtor pressed her lips into a thin line. Brooke's mother whispered something under her breath that sounded like, "Oh my God." Brooke's father reached across the table and pulled the document toward him. He read silently, thoroughly, the kind of reading that does not skip lines. Then he looked at Mason. You told us this was liquid capital, he said evenly. It is, Mason shot back. Ellie just likes paperwork. That word again, used. The loan officer closed her laptop halfway. I cannot proceed until underwriting re-evaluates the debt-to-income ratio, she said. This could disqualify the loan. How long? Brooke asked, voice thin. 24 to 48 hours, minimum. The realtor inhaled sharply. We do not have 48 hours, she said. The seller already extended once. As if summoned by the tension itself, the loan officer's phone buzzed. She glanced down. It is the seller's agent, she said quietly. The room froze. She answered on speaker. Hi, yes, we are still in closing. She began, keeping her tone professional. There was a pause. Her expression shifted. I understand, she said. Yes, I see. Another pause. Yes, I will inform them. She ended the call. Silence. Even the hum of the overhead lights felt louder. The seller has received another offer, she said carefully. Higher, all cash. The realtor's face drained. They are willing to wait 2 hours, the loan officer continued. If financing is not confirmed by then, they are terminating this contract. 2 hours. Mason's confidence evaporated so fast it was almost visible. Call them, he snapped at the realtor. Tell them we are fine. The realtor shook her head. They want written confirmation from underwriting today. Mason turned to me. Fix this, he said. Not please. Not can we talk. Fix this. I felt something inside me settle. Not anger, not even satisfaction, just clarity. I cannot fix a debt-to-income ratio by pretending a loan is a gift, I said. Brooke stood up abruptly. You told me this was clean, she said to Mason. You said everything was transparent. It is, he insisted. This is him. He is being dramatic. Dramatic. I watched Brooke's father stand slowly. He adjusted his cufflinks with deliberate calm. Mason, he said, did you disclose this obligation to your lender? Mason hesitated. That was the answer. The loan officer did not need more. I have to notify underwriting of material misrepresentation, she said. If this was omitted, the file will be flagged. Flagged. The word carried consequences. Mortgage fraud is not just paperwork. It is federal. Mason ran a hand through his hair. It is not fraud, he said. It is family. Brooke's father's jaw tightened. Family does not mean undisclosed liabilities. The realtor's phone rang. She stepped outside the room. Through the glass wall we watched her pace. Geständig. Argue. Then she stopped moving. Her shoulders dropped. She walked back in slowly. They accepted the cash offer, she said. It was over. Just like that. 3 years of bragging. 6 months of showings. Weeks of negotiations. Gone. The house that Mason had toured twice a week. The kitchen Brooke had measured for bar stools. The backyard they had already imagined children in. Sold. Not because I attacked, not because I yelled, because I refused to lie. Mason stared at the table like it had betrayed him. Brooke did not look at him. Her mother pressed her lips together so tightly They blanched white. My mother began to cry softly. My father still did not speak. Mason looked up at me finally. "You cost me this house," he said. I held his gaze. "No," I replied. "Your lie did." The room was not loud. No one shouted. No one flipped tables. That would have been easier. Instead, the weight of it settled slowly, like dust after something collapses. The loan officer gathered her papers. "We will be in touch regarding the underwriting review," she said, tone now distant, which meant investigation, which meant consequences beyond just this house. Brooke's father placed the promissory note back in front of me. "You protected yourself," he said quietly. "That is not sabotage." It was the first time anyone at that table acknowledged what this really was. Self-protection, not revenge. Mason stood abruptly. "You are jealous," he said. "You always have been." There it was. The final refuge of someone who has run out of facts. I did not respond, because for the first time in my life, I did not need to defend myself to be right. Outside the window, a moving truck pulled up across the street. For the other buyer. The room emptied slowly. No dramatic exit, no slamming doors, just chairs scraping against the floor and paperwork being stacked back into folders that would never be signed. I slipped the promissory note back into its sleeve and closed my briefcase. Mason followed me into the hallway. "What do you want?" he demanded. There it was. Not, "Why did you do this?" Not, "Are you okay?" "What do you want?" "I want the truth to stay on paper," I said. "You just ruined my future," he snapped. "No," I replied. "I protected mine." His face twisted. For a second, I saw something beneath the anger. Not guilt. Not remorse. Fear. Because now it was bigger than the house. The loan officer had not looked annoyed when she said underwriting review. She had looked procedural. Procedural means documented. Documented means traceable. Traceable means federal. That afternoon I received an email. Subject line, Material Disclosure Review. The lender requested a formal copy of the promissory note and confirmation of repayment terms. They also requested written clarification from Mason regarding prior statements declaring the funds as a gift. I forwarded everything. No emotion, no commentary, just documentation. 2 days later, Mason called me 8 times. I did not answer until the 9th. His voice sounded thinner. "They are saying I misrepresented," he said. "It was not intentional." "You signed a gift declaration draft," I said calmly. "You emailed a broker stating no repayment expected." It was a misunderstanding. It was convenient. Silence. Then, softer, "They are talking about filing a suspicious activity report." That landed heavier than anything else so far. A suspicious activity report does not mean prison. Not automatically. But it means your name enters a system. It means lenders hesitate next time. It means your file carries a shadow. "You would let that happen?" he asked. I closed my eyes briefly. 3 years. 3 years of quiet expectation that I would absorb consequences so he could keep momentum. "I am not letting anything happen," I said. "You are experiencing the result of your own statements." He switched tactics. "Brooke's dad thinks I lied to him." "Did you?" He did not answer. Instead, he whispered, "You are enjoying this." That accusation almost made me laugh. Enjoyment is loud. It brags. It celebrates. This felt nothing like that. This felt like finally stepping out from under something heavy and realizing I could stand upright. "I did not report you," I said. "I did not call the lender. I simply refused to lie." He exhaled sharply. "If they flag me, I will not qualify for another mortgage for years." Years. There it was. Consequence measured in time. "You can still repay the loan," I said. He scoffed. "With what?" "The house is gone." That was not my house to lose. He hung up. That evening, my mother called. She did not cry this time. "Is it serious?" she asked. "Yes," I said. She was quiet for a long time. "We should have handled it differently," she admitted. Handled it differently. Not he should not have lied. Not we were wrong. Just softer phrasing. "He told Brooke's family you were holding his money for tax reasons," she continued. "They feel deceived." "They were," I replied. My father took the phone next. His voice was lower than usual. "You could withdraw the note," he said. "Say it was informal." There it was. The final request. Erase yourself again. I looked around my apartment. Quiet, orderly. Earned. I will not commit fraud to protect his pride, I said. Another long silence. Then, for the first time in my adult life, my father said something unexpected. He made this worse, he admitted. Not loudly, but clear. It was not applause. It was not validation, but it was acknowledgement. The lender's final email arrived 3 days later. The loan file was officially denied due to undisclosed debt obligation and material inconsistency in borrower disclosures. They reserved the right to report findings in accordance with federal compliance requirements. Formal language. Cold. Final. Mason texted me once more. Happy now? I stared at the screen. No. Happy would have been him standing at that table saying, "My brother loaned me the down payment." Happy would have been being seen without having to force visibility. What I felt was different. Steady. Balanced. For the first time, the weight distribution in our relationship had shifted. Not because I pushed him down, because I stopped holding him up. 2 weeks later, I drove past the neighborhood. The house had new curtains in the windows. Different car in the driveway. Life moves on quickly when you are not the one financing it. And for once, I was not financing anything that excluded me. Brooke did not call. She did not send a dramatic message. No accusations. No tears. She simply disappeared from the group thread. 2 days after the denial email, Mason posted nothing. No update. No defiant captions. No forced optimism. Silence can be louder than shouting. I heard through my mother that Brooke moved back to her condo temporarily. To think, she said. To think. That phrase carries weight. It means trust cracked. Mason came by my office once the following week. I saw him through the glass lobby doors before he saw me. He looked smaller somehow. Not physically. Used. Compressed. He did not come in. He stood there for a minute, hands in his jacket pockets, staring at the floor logo like it had answers. Then he left. No confrontation, no apology, just absence. And for the first time in our lives, I did not chase after him to repair something he broke. A week later, Brooke's father sent me a brief email. Thank you for clarifying the financial structure. Transparency matters. That was it. No drama. No praise. Just acknowledgement. Mason's name was not mentioned. I drove past the old house listing one more time before it was fully removed online. The photos were still up. Staged kitchen, sunlit staircase, backyard framed like a promise. He had walked through that house talking about legacy. He had stood in that empty living room saying, "This is where it starts." He was not wrong. It did start something, just not what he expected. My parents invited me to dinner the following Sunday. For once, no one joked about me being the serious one. No one asked if I was going to loosen up. No one minimized the paperwork. My father cleared his throat halfway through the meal. "You were right to protect yourself," he said. It was not a grand speech, but it was real. My mother nodded quietly. They did not ask me to withdraw the note. They did not ask me to fix Mason's file. They did not ask me to be the safety net. And that was new. Mason did not attend. I do not know whether Brooke will return. I do not know whether underwriting will escalate beyond denial. I do know this. I did not take his house. I did not report him. I did not sabotage anything. I refused to rewrite a loan as love, and that refusal changed everything. For years, I believed being the responsible sibling meant absorbing impact so the family structure stayed intact. I was wrong. Sometimes responsibility means letting the structure crack where it is already weak. I still have the promissory note in my safe, not as a weapon, as proof. Proof that I was never just holding his money. I was holding the truth. And this time, I did not let anyone sign it away. If you were asked to lie for family to protect their image, would you sign the paper or would you let the deal collapse?